I just finished watching WWE Night of the Champions. First, full disclosure, I did not watch it live. I work many Saturdays, so I had to work, so I didn't watch it live. I was spoiler free except for the main event. I made the mistake of clicking on Facebook and I saw a couple spoilers. First two matches were the King of the Ring finals. I'm an old school fan. I prefer the King of the Ring when the majority of the tournament, or going back originally, the entire tournament was done in one night. The winner goes through a grueling single night tournament and wins at the end. It's kind of more prestigious accomplishment. Anyway, that's not how they do it now. Obafemi wins the King of the Ring. Now, if you watch my previous videos, I'm a big fan of Obafemi, so on the one hand, this does not surprise me. On the other hand, it does a little bit though, because they've been building this Obafemi-Lesnar situation, and I've always thought they are building this to a Obafemi-Brock Lesnar rematch at SummerSlam, because SummerSlam is in Minnesota, and that is where Lesnar lives. And Lesnar's not a fan of the WWE travel, so why wouldn't Lesnar, if he's gonna wrestle one more time, wrestle right there in his home state? Oba beating Jay, kind of a logical decision, but like I said, I thought they were building towards Brock versus Oba. So I was actually waiting for Brock's music to hit. I was waiting for Brock to come in and interfere, even if it was a disqualification finish. I was waiting for Brock to screw Oba, and then we set up the Oba-Brock feud to continue. Now they could do something really crazy, because SummerSlam is a two-night. They could have Oba and Brock one night, and Oba and whatever champion he chooses to challenge another night. Maybe it's one possibility. We shall see. Queen of the Ring was won by Io Sky, defeating Liv Morgan. I actually was expecting Liv Morgan to win, because I felt like they were building some tension between her and other Judgment Day members, and her winning the King of the Ring where the other two did not would cause some tension, and then her going for the second women's championship. I just thought the storyline was there. And now it's gonna be Liv versus Io, which we just saw. So the next pay-per-view, we're seeing a rematch, which I guess is fine. Prior to the match, Liv got cursed by Danhausen, and right then I said, well, now I expect Liv to lose. But prior to her being cursed, I was expecting Liv to win. As we've seen, that curse is no joke. It's real. Then we had Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker in a cage. Felt like, for whatever reason, I couldn't get into that one as much. I did find it odd that they brought weapons into the cage. Again, old school fan, the cage is a weapon itself. You don't need additional weapons. Now, I know in Hell in a Cell they've done this, so just make it a Hell in a Cell if that's what you want to do. It felt like a Hell in a Cell, but in a standard size cage. Maybe they could have just made it a street fight, because the cage wasn't much of a factor. They did one spot where Braun slammed the cage on Seth's head, which I don't think was executed as well as I've seen it by others, but I know it's a tricky spot to do safely, so it is what it is. I felt the second half of that match was better than the first half. The first half, I don't know, I wasn't feeling it, I wasn't getting into it, and then I kind of picked up the pace or whatever, got a little more exciting. Had a decent finish, but again, I don't feel it's necessary to be in a cage. They did one cool spot, did like a suplex off the top of the cage. I love those spots. So the cage was utilized, but I don't know if the cage was necessary. The match was pretty decent. The crowd seemed to love it. This is awesome chance, blah, blah, blah. But then the next two matches, the crowd kind of took a dip. The crowd got very quiet. I think maybe they got tired. They were amped up by the time the main event came. And which is okay. I think wrestling cards should have ebbs and flows where you kind of give the fans a break. They don't really do let-me-up matches anymore. I'm a fan of let-me-up matches because I think the fans do need a break. I just don't feel like the crowd was into it. They seem excited for the entrances of Ricky Saints and Trick Williams, and then once the bell rang, they kind of just, like they were taking a break because they probably needed one. And I think that may have hurt the match a little bit. There's moments in that match where the crowd was very quiet, and the performers were trying to give it them all, and the silence kind of brought less excitement to the match. That is very interesting because during the pre-show or early in the match, they kept hyping what a great crowd this was going to be. They're going to prove tonight why they deserved WrestleMania next year. They had moments where they started hot, and also I've seen a lot of people looking at their phones during the match, which I know that happens, but it seemed to be more so with this crowd than other crowds. We've seen some of the European crowds be much more animated and vocal from what I saw last night. But then, you know, you can't control the crowd. But it's just odd that WWE they're trying to put the crowd over as part of the commentary, I guess, to justify the WrestleMania. Whatever, it's their company, they can do WrestleMania wherever they want. I mean, we know the real reason why they're doing WrestleMania in Saudi next year. But that's not what this video is about. So, U.S. Championship match was fine. I'm a Ricky Saints fan, but I did not expect him at all to win the title that night. So it's kind of a foregone conclusion. Kind of felt like a match they would have just had on SmackDown. Almost came across like a filler match. And no surprise there that Trick Williams won. The next match was the Women's United States Championship with Stratton defending to Cargill. Again, the crowd didn't seem into it too much. I thought the finish was odd. Charlotte comes out, clocks her with the belt. That led to the pinfall. But it felt very much like a heel finish. Back in the day, we see the heel sneak up, nail someone with the belt. Jade's supposed to be the heel. Charlotte and Tiffany are supposed to be the baby faces. But Charlotte, even like the look on her face, felt very heelish. I don't know if they're teasing a heel turn for Charlotte. I don't think they are. I think we're going to continue with a feud between Charlotte and Jade, with Charlotte being the baby face and Jade being the heel. Final match of the night, triple threat match. Sami Zayn versus Gunther versus the champion, Cody Rhodes. Wasn't sure what they were doing with this. I was a little surprised that Sami won. I wasn't surprised because I saw spoilers before watching the match. I wish I didn't, because then I would have maybe really had a reaction while watching it. A little surprised it was a completely clean finish, because Sami's kind of been a tweener lately, leaning more heelish than not. But in front of the Saudi crowd, where he speaks the local language, Muslim population, and Sami happens to be Muslim, I think it was a smart move to do a clean finish, because you sent the fans home happy. I like Sami Zayn. I think he's a great performer. I don't know if he's a world champion per se, but it's also okay never being the champion. There's a lot of Hall of Famers have stellar careers that never were the champion. That's my old school mentality, where championship reigns were much longer. Now they like to mix it up. I do like that it's something new, because I like new. Like, oh, this is something new. I don't know where they go from here, which I like. I like not knowing. I don't want things to be bored and predictable, so we're seeing something new. So now with Sami being champion, we got to think to the future. Who will Oba pick? I'm thinking Oba's going to go with Reigns. I think Oba versus Reigns is more of the marquee match. And I also think the storyline maybe between Cody and Sami isn't over yet. We also have a Saturday's Main Event before SummerSlam. So I think something could happen at Saturday's Main Event to shape what will happen at SummerSlam. We don't know, because I'm recording this the day after Night of the Champions. So we'll see what the future holds. If you've watched this whole video, thank you very much. If you feel like subscribing, do so, and thank you very much. And tell me your thoughts on Night of the Champions. Tell me what you think is going to happen going forward. I'm curious to hear what other people think. So leave a comment, like and subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Thanks for watching. And you are not cursed because you watched my video. You are not cursed.